Oil has for long been the world's biggest energy resource. But maybe the question is it doomsday for this multi-trillion industry? As you all know, a few days ago, for the first time in the history of the oil industry, the prices hit a negative. Well, memes were made about this. We laughed about them. Not for so long, for some of us. I mean, behind those smiles were a lot of questions and a lot of doubts. For the first time in a long time, I started wondering if the last 4 years I spent in school were hoax. I mean, I'm a Petroleum student, so you would understand why I had so many questions. So at the peak of all this drum and all, I started digging up to find out what exactly is happening, and this led me to a certain source, and this source led me to a certain article, which led me to a certain concept called oil trading. And this is the concept I'd like to share with you today. Question is, what is oil trading? Like the word goes, sounds basic, right? Oil trading oil. Maybe the question should be, how is oil trading done? Oil trading is done majorly through major ways. You could use oil futures and oil options. You could use CFDs. These ones don't require contracts at all. Or you could directly invest in a company, an oil company, buy shares in an oil company like ExxonMobil's or CNOOC or something like that, and have shares in the company. But well, today's topic is about oil futures, and maybe I'll mention something about oil options as well, but mostly oil futures. So oil futures, what are oil futures? Oil futures, these are contracts that specify which amount of oil you want to sell, at what price, and by when. So in other words, they have expiry dates. Unlike the oil options, in which you retain the right and the obligation not to sell the oil if you don't want to sell the oil. The advantage with oil futures is that you don't ever have to have the oil on you yourself. So there is not exactly the problem of logistical part of storage, warehouses, and all that stuff. You can just buy a contract. Think about it like a stock exchange, but for the oil industry now. So just that instead of buying shares or stocks for that matter, you're buying what they call the oil benchmarks. Oil benchmarks are more like a standard of measuring the quality of oil. Things like Brent oil, West Texas Intermediate, and all that stuff. So coming back to the situation that we've been experiencing, the negative oil prices. What caused the negative oil prices? The contract for the maize stock was expiring, and it actually expired on Tuesday. And unfortunately, the times under which we are, the demand for oil is so low. People are not exactly moving, factories are not exactly working as much. So the demand is so low, but yet production happens. I mean, the markets are always open. So this contract was coming to an end, but there is no storage capacity and there is no demand for it. So the oil isn't being moved. So we got to a situation where that contract was expiring, and people who had the contracts were not willing to have the oil on them. That's why we got to a situation where the oil benchmarks were going so low because people were literally paying off people to get the oil off them, to help them store the oil, in other words, because the oil wasn't moving. That is exactly what happened. But does that mean that oil all over the world was being sold for free? I don't think so. That's not what exactly happened. People paying people to get oil off of them. But does this mean that it's doomsday for the industry? I don't think so. I think after COVID-19, there is life after all this. People will get back to the roads. Industries will resume work. So I think there is hope at the end of all this. So you shouldn't be discouraged. But also, I don't think this should be a relaxation time, or I don't know what else to call it. I think it calls for us to think outside the box and figure out how exactly we can use the prevailing technology to thrive, in all situations. Yeah, and my friends have something to say.
The challenge we are facing in the oil and gas industry, where the prices are going as low as negative 37 as of 20th April 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic that we are going through as the entire world, which has led to an imbalance between the demand and the supply. I think we can overcome this through production cuts so that the two can balance, then the prices will stabilize.
Recently, the oil price have reacted extremely negatively, and I believe we haven't seen the bottom of this price yet. Overall, I expect the oil and commodity prices to remain low this 2020 due to the global pandemic the world is facing right now, and the low oil price will adversely affect the oil production and other parts of the economy. As a result, strong tendency towards recession can be expected, and the extent of this recessionary influence will vary from country to country. So I believe we should just hope for a better tomorrow. We should just keep praying for the best. But after 2020, if this oil price doesn't come up, I'm afraid to say that the world oil production will drop precipitously.